Real News with Lucretia Hughes is funded by you, the viewers, not U.S. aid. So to support the show, please donate through PayPal at Fallback Production Studio, Cash App $ Lucretia Hughes 44, Venmo at Lucretia-Hughes, or shop at our store, fallbackusa2.myshopify.com. Thank you so much.
Are very good at playing with words. They always talk about gun control. How about right control? Because when you go against the Second Amendment, that's our right. That's our God-given right, not only by God, but by the founding fathers. So why don't you just call it what it really is, right control? You're taking our rights away. You cannot regulate evil. Evil is evil, and evil is always going to be persistent, and it's always going to be here. So why get rid of our ability to protect ourselves? The Second Amendment right protects the rest of them, and it protects us. It protects your home, your body, and your spirit, because without it, how are you going to protect yourself? Don't be a sheep. Don't follow just because it's popular. Think for yourself. Be yourself. Be that individual that God made you to be. He wasn't born to follow. He was born to lead. Hey! You know what? Like I said, don't start none. There will never be any. Don't start nothing with anybody else. There'll never be anything else. We don't go to their side. Joe, that's the point over there on D-Live. We don't run up in their faces. We don't even go to their pages. We don't look for these people. They make it their business to look for us. Now, we know from what's everything coming out, they was actually getting paid to do this. They was getting paid a lot of money to do it on a regular, especially during the shutdown. They was getting paid by the USAID and the Biden administration to get out here on social media to make sure that they label us and attack us on a daily basis. If we survive through all of that turmoil, all of that brainwashing, all of that indoctrination, all of that propaganda for the last 5 years, knowing our backs was truly against the wall, now that we know we got a God-fearing, gun-toting, American-loving, freedom-speaking, constitutionalist president, we definitely never have to put up with them again. You ain't never have to worry about another drag queen going up in the bath. Y'all, can you feel a brand new day? Can you feel a brand new day? That's what that means. Yo, you? Okay, because I want to keep my page, and you know, I don't want to lose my job and stuff, and they out here calling me names. Bump that bullshit. Hey, Dave, here's my favorite song. Go ahead. I need to hear Diamond. Let's put up Diamond. Just put up Diamond. Nook, if you buck, boy. I grew up on that. So you talking about you just feel like you want to fight on the bus? And I'm outside of the club, and you think I'm a punk. Never mind. I can give you some fight songs, okay? Just, which one you want to tap a club? You want to tap a neighborhood? When you find it, Dave, just go ahead and start playing it. Because that's my hype song. And here's another one. We ready. We ready. We ready. We ready. We ready. For y'all, we ready, 'cause we ready, we ready for y'all. When you start singing songs like that, you're like, yeah, right out. I'm trying not to revert. Play my favorite song, Dave. Okay, stop, because I can see him. Oh, that's Sam. Sam is at 5:30. Amber is at 6:30. Dave, get your times right. We don't need to... Dave, like seriously, if you want a crunk song, I'll give you a crunk song. But what we ain't gonna do no more. And this is our next guest. Samuel said the decline of America is over. The uprising of punks are over. The uprising of the Antifa is over. The uprising of you thinking that you're going to come out here and attack people's freedoms of speech or their jobs or their pages or their livelihoods is over. And we don't have to put up with it anymore. So if you survived all of the crap that you had to endure and watch for the last 5 years, I know like crazy and like hell, you're not finna succumb right now because the decline of America is over. So I love my red, white, and blue. I love my military. I love my veterans, and I love my way of life. And before I let another Antifa, a liptard, a Black Lives Matter, a crybaby, a Antifa, or anybody else think you finna come over here and tell me how to live my life, what to say, or how to do my show, you got another thing coming. So I'm sure the next guy that we bringing up here, and I ain't even asked you to donate. I ain't even asked you to vote for me for the 2A or being on the board of directors of the NRA. Sometimes it's best to sneak attack because some of these people think I'm something to be played with, and I'm truly not. So another person that ain't to be trifled with because he done had your crap too. Dave, bring Samuel Redfern on because the years of America in decline is over. How you doing? Can you hear me?
I am doing well. Greetings from Big Sky Country, Montana, and we love Veterans for America First, and we are not in decline. We are on the rise. America First is in command and control, as we say in the military, and we are ready for America's comeback, and our nation is no longer in decline. Thanks be to God.
Amen. So what are you seeing out there? Not only from your point of view, because I went and I read a lot about you. I didn't even know where to start. I just know that holy crap, we got an alpha. I didn't mean it like that, but we got somebody that ain't finna that's gonna tell us the real deal. What are you seeing on the ground in all of your years, not only going from coast to coast, but being a part of everything you're seeing, the military? What are you seeing on the ground? What are you seeing in our society, and what you see for the future?
Well, I'm seeing focus. I'm seeing more focus in the veteran community and electric charge now that President Trump has been rightfully uh, back in command, commander in chief. And we have a great team at DOD led by my old boss and friend Pete Hegseth. And we got a great team at VA led by another former board member of mine and friend, Doug Collins, who was out of the chaplain corps. So he's a man of faith, who's now in command and control at our Veteran Affairs. But you're right, we got to keep our ears open and our eyes and ears open and ears close to the ground. You know, we always say in Montana, we like to elk hunt up here. And if you're focused on chasing two bulls up the mountain, you'll get neither. And so you have to focus. You really have to focus on what's most important right now. And right now, I think that the economic ship and the borders are the two things that we hired Tim Sheehy for in Montana. You know, he upended a 18-year incumbent in Senator John Tester, and Tim Sheehy's a fellow veteran, combat vet. He's a Navy SEAL. That wasn't easy to do, never easy to do in American politics, but he rode with President Trump. He was aligned with President Trump. He served in battle. And the veterans in Montana, which is one of the largest per capita veteran populations in the nation, stood with Tim and said, it's time for a change. We are not going to be in decline. We're going to rise again, and we're going to put a combat veteran in the Senate, and we're going to ally with Trump instead of opposing him on every vote in the United States Senate. So we on the ground are hearing great things from our vets who are energized, who are excited. Doge has also, I would say, energized some, because I think, you know, Lucretia, I think a lot of folks in your circles and my circles knew that there were problems, knew that the spending and 35 trillion in debt was a problem. But until you peek under the rocks, you really don't know what's lurking. And I think that the young people, particularly 25 to 45 that I'm talking to, young men and women, are a little bit surprised by the true amount of waste that's already been exposed. What are we, 3 weeks into this?
Yes.
And so the ears that I have to hear, I was in a workout last night with a dozen young veterans, And they were basically saying, well, where was the outcry for the miners, the loggers, the construction workers, the mom and pop restaurant owners, the rancher and farmer, when all sorts of thousands of jobs were shed and Main Street was shuttered because of globalists and because of economic policy that was taking instead of give and take or giving. And so I think that right now, my advice to the government worker would be take your chops. You know, everybody's got to get fired at once in life to really understand what life's about. I've been fired before. It's not pleasant, but you really get humbled, and God gives grace to the humble. And my message to veterans, if you're in government right now, is you need to understand the sentiment is not with you.
Nope.
Read the room.
So how you
As
gonna read the
Lucretia said
room?
earlier, she ain't playing.
We're not
We ain't
playing.
playing. We're
Christy
not playing.
Gnomes is not playing. Christy Gnomes is not playing, and they're really hunkering down, trying to find out who is the leaker, not only inside the FBI but also inside of Homeland Security, because these ICE raids. That's one thing that even Tom Homan got up there with AOC,
Yes.
telling illegals in her district how to circumvent laws in America. And then you had Tom
Yes.
Homan going out to Colorado for a big sting or a drug bus or ICE bus, but they wasn't there because somebody had leaked it. How do we stop that? And do you think it's a career a person in the DOD or the FBI? Do you think it's a holdover, or do you think it's somebody? Because Christy Gnomes was saying it's time to do lie detector tests on people that works for the government.
Well, she's absolutely right. And, you know, the SES, the Special Executive Service, and the higher level GSs usually are safe from, you know, Clinton. People forget Clinton Gore axed 377,000 government jobs. This is not something new. And even in my generation, I was in D.C. when that went down, and they were not afraid to even target DOD. So this is not new. But what I have learned in government, especially in deployments and with security clearances, is it's usually people that feel very safe. They usually have enablers, and leakers are a problem. They have to be identified. They have to be held accountable. So I do agree with Secretary Noem that this is a serious issue. It was a huge issue for Trump in the first term.
Yes.
And so it's going to be dealt with immediately. What he needs. You know, my old friend Stan and Kate with your team would probably agree. A cadre of NCOs, ex-vets, military, that can go in and identify pretty quickly who the leakers are, evidence-based, not speculation, not gossip, but evidence-based, and identify them just as we rooted them out in combat deployments. You leaked on a combat deployment, you get one of our brothers and sisters killed. You know, we took it very seriously. We would root out any leakers in our midst when I was with 5th Group or when I was deployed in Mosul. And my counsel, I don't get to talk to the president or Pete much anymore, but I talked to Doug Collins a little bit, is every agency and the people around President Trump need to get a cadre of professional, veteran, or NCOs that can identify the leakers and stop this before it becomes a huge problem in the administration.
Do you think it'll be easy? Was it easy for y'all to root these leakers out, or what is just? You can't tell us everything, but what are some key things that you actually look for when you're looking for a leaker or a mole inside of any administration?
Yeah, so, you know, investigators are usually, if you talk to private investigators, and I know Stan's got a law enforcement background, investigators learn habits, they learn routines, they learn patterns. And that's what we looked for when we were trying to identify information leakage or information warfare. You know, it was so serious, not to war story it up, but real quick, Lucretia, you would have an intel report come in, like, say, a neighborhood that the Kurds didn't like or the Sunni didn't like, and then the wrong house would get targeted. People would get killed over bad intel. People would lose their lives because it was just a hit. I mean, you see that in drug cartels, you see that in gangs, you know, and so it's not something that's foreign to our country and to civilians. But yeah, there's patterns. There's, not to give away all the tools of the trade, but yes, you can, if you have a good team and you're disciplined and you're focused on one specific agency, you can identify leakers. We had a problem, just an anecdotal story real quick, in Montana. So Secretary Holman or know I'm already aware of this, but we had a problem about leakers in Belgrade, Montana, and Missoula, Montana, just to name two towns up here, two cities up here, where word got out to undocumented or illegal immigrants that they were going to get raided. One of them had allegedly raped a Missoula girl who had gone to police, had gone to our vet association. Her dad was a captain in the Army deployed, and it was an illegal immigrant. He disappeared. He got out, and somebody tipped them off that they were going to get raided or arrested. So, that even happened here in Montana, Lucretia.
So we know yesterday it came out with the drones. The CIA is running drones on the southern border and looking for drug cartels now that they have been labeled as a terrorist organization. If those drug cartels are in Montana or somewhere in the breadbasket of America, do you feel like we can catch them at all at this point? Because how do we catch these illegals, gangbangers, and drug dealers that's all and mules and sex traffickers that's already in America and that's dispersed all throughout our nation?
Well, I'll just speak to Montana real quick, but you probably know this, Lucretia. We are actually taking special forces into Mexico and training some of their special forces on how to deal with the cartels. And the briefings that I have, just like on the Israeli side, when we work with the Gavati Brigade, my vet association's taken several trips with some of your team members to Israel. You have to understand that when you're dealing with Hamas or you're dealing with the cartels, it's more like a Vietnamese insurgency. It's not like, a movie where you just go and raid. This is serious warfare that can happen in with the cartels. In Montana, where it manifests the most up here, what I'll speak about that I know is the missing women up here, women and children. We know that several cartels have used them as mules. They get them hooked on drugs. They've even used abortion as a coercion tactic, and then drugs post-abortion with the grief that comes with that, and then enslaved 15, 14, 13-year-old girls, mainly indigenous women up here, Native American women, but all across all spectrums. And that's been for the flow into Canada of fentanyl. Fentanyl has flowed all through Canadian border, and they know it up there. And I've rebuked several of the leaders in Alberta, Saskatchewan, British Columbia.
Wait a minute, wait. So it's not coming from the southern border. It's hitting y'all from the northern border.
Yeah, Canada will admit this. You talk to Pierre up there, you talk to some of the conservative leaders, they will admit that. And our Attorney General of Montana knows that. Primarily has been flowing in Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Dakotas through Canada. 900 miles of border up here as well. Yes, Mexico is the biggest problem. The border, with Mexico is the biggest problem for fentanyl. And a lot of it's produced in China, but it does flow through Canada, and it has heavily impacted our youth here in Montana.
In Montana. I'm thinking that because Montana is just so rural. I'm just being honest. It's not like New York City or I even take Texas where it's a whole bunch of people in one state. This is Montana. This is where you go for couples goals, retirement goals. You want land goals. You just want to be with one with nature goal, not having to go to Montana and have to deal with sex trafficking on Indian reservations, having to deal with gangs and is it because one of the reasons with the Native American, is it because it's an Indian reservation and that's a federal issue? Is that the reason why that y'all can't do anything about it?
We have made strides, so we are doing something about it, and I have a couple solutions I want to offer to your audience. But yes, Montana's all those things too. It's beautiful up here. It is couples goals, retirement goals. Every military officer I talked to in the country, if it weren't so cold up here in the winter, they would retire here. And so Montana's really felt the Yellowstone effect. We had during COVID 40, 50,000 new people move here, primarily from California, Washington, et cetera. So Montana's dealt with a little bit of a boom. We're about 1.2 million. But just to understand the geography, Lucretia, it's like bigger than Germany. So yes, we have all those beautiful things, hunt and fish and paradise. But the underbelly is we have a couple problems primarily from the borders, primarily from the cartels, and that is the fentanyl, the drug mules, and so forth. And yes, on the tribal side, these reservations are impoverished. which is why I partner, and Montana Veterans Association partners with Native American Development Corps and All Nations and other great tribal corporations that are trying to change the game up here. There was just great work being done, primarily led by veterans and concerned citizens. But yeah, they look for the soft targets. They go into Fort Peck, for example. I'm just going to name a tribe that's got a serious problem. And the Blackfeet Nation, which is where I was born, up in Glacier, Montana, right below the Glacier National Park. They go in there where there are homes that have cardboard siding. I'm just being
Wow.
honest and
In
real. You don't,
2025.
you don't in 2025 there are kids on the streets, and there are kids in absolute poverty, and they go and target those kids primarily because the parents are dealing with substance, or there's not a dad around. I hate to say it, but it's true. There's not a dad around. So any of these cartel guys will tell you they look for soft targets, primarily young girls.
Do you
And they look for kids that don't have a dad or don't have protectors. And they target them and they get them into sex trafficking and drugs. And you can Google this, you can look in the Attorney General's report. It's a well documented problem in Montana. This is not hyperbole by the vets. We care. We care about all of our citizens. And my hope is that the vets, because we got 30 million of us in the nation and we got about 120,000 in Montana, high population. We have actually volunteer wise stepped up and tried to do watch protection type programs up here in Montana, work with the lifeguard group and other groups for this. But it is a large state. You can't police everywhere. It's larger than Germany. There's holes and caves and tunnels, so to speak, that these terrible cartels go into and exploit people, and they use them to mule their drugs. And there is a market and appetite, sad to say, even in Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Dakotas, for these drugs. Once people get on them, like, fentanyl again, or methamphetamine, heroin, even alcoholism, it's very hard to beat those things once you become a slave to it, right? And so we know that treatment's a part of that, but we're trying to do preventive, Lucretia. We're trying to stop them from getting those kids in the first place.
Now that Montana has 1 million+ people, and there's a lot of land. That's a lot of land
Yeah.
and a lot of
Never thought
veterans.
that would happen, by the way.
Have you thought about turning some of that land into homeless encampment sites for veterans to get back on their feet? Like get a parcel of land and make it self-sufficient, even for, let's just say it, for your tribe and your reservation that you was born into, and some of the people, to bring them out of that community, just for them to get a leg up, and then maybe go back into that community to change it from within. Do you see that happening with the veterans organizations?
We do. MVA is probably the number one, my organization, political organization in Montana for veterans. We're probably number 3 on social impact, and we're probably 8 or 9 financially. So we're fairly new kids in the block. We've been around for 4 years. We've got a Georgia chapter, we've got a Texas chapter, we got a Michigan, Wyoming, and Alaska chapters. But housing is now the number 2 issue. It's funny you mentioned that. And Montana, with that population explosion, we are one of the most expensive markets now in the nation.
Wow.
Bozeman and Missoula are the 2 go-to. You can look that up. My sister's house, they bought it for $400,000 near the university in Bozeman. It's now worth $1.4 million. I'm not going to give out the address. Don't worry, sis. But it's just unreal that even our family, some of the changes taking place on a small house. It's now a multi-million-dollar property because it's in Bozeman, Montana, or as we call it, Los Angeles. And we say Los Angeles because of the Yellowstone effect. There's a lot of people that came up here from LA during COVID.
I think you
and
even got
primarily
Yeezy up there with y'all. I think Kanye West got a home or a homestead up there also.
He did in Wyoming. He had a ranch, and then he bought one in Bozeman. Yep, he bought a home up here, and then he had a ranch in Wyoming. And I've met Mr. Yee. He's an interesting man. But I will tell you this. So to answer your question, the Montana Veterans Warrior Center is a ranch project that we have. We have 2 ranches that are working with us, and our goal is to develop veterans townhouses. And we also have a plan for another developer to develop kind of a veteran condo, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,200 square feet, that are affordable rentals. Because what's happening up here, just to be really quick with this, Lucretia, is the HUD VASH vouchers for homeless vets. they're not working anymore. And here's why. If you're in Missoula and you can get a California couple to rent your basement for $2,500 while you're down in Arizona for the winter, and then you get a vet coming in that's got a $1,200 voucher and he's disabled, who are you going to pick?
Probably
You're
the
going
one that's going to pay the most. What about
to
tiny
pay
homes
double.
or single wide trailers? Have you ever thought about a single wide that's usually running in Georgia for about $38,000 to $49,000 a piece, and just get a whole buttload of, or hiring the Amish, or hiring the actual the people that live there. That'll be a big marketing boom and jobs also, if you're putting these people to work to be able to build a tiny home, a complex, or not a subdivision, because you want at least a quarter of an acre or smaller for each tiny home. Maybe put a garden in there, put a hospital in there, a clinic in there, a wood shopping in there, a mechanic. And it's a general store, and everything that they produce, it's open to the public. But the money not only stays into the organization and the community, but it's also put to the side for every veteran that chips in their work or whatever their talent is. So when they are,
Why in the world are you not up here in Montana on my board?
because nobody asked
We
me.
need you. That's,
Nobody
no, I
ever.
mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's brilliant. We have one guy. Well, actually, sorry. Let me rephrase that. We have a team of 8, but it's led by one Afghan war vet that is doing trailers in Livingston, Montana, outside Bozeman. He bought basically an island off the river, and he put in 40 trailers, and he has successfully rented those out to vets and made a community there of eggs and horses and goats and the milk, and so they've got enough there that they're sustainable gardens. So his name is Paul McNeil. He's a good friend of mine, so I don't think he'd mind me sharing his name. He's part of my organization. So with our Montana Veterans Warrior Center, with that ranch idea, with his job that he did with the trailers, you're right on that. What we haven't done yet that you mentioned is the tiny homes, and the Amish are good friends of ours. Sam Hostetler is going to be with me. He's a former Amish, but he's very tight with the Amish community up here. They went to North Carolina to Montanans, and they invested about 500,000. You might have heard of one of the guys, and I think they built like 40 units or so when they had that disaster in North Carolina, and it was the Amish that led that. And so yeah, we need to do that in Montana. We got to find the right community. You're dealing with the cities here have such an influx from out of state, and there's no room to build. In my city, Missoula, it's got to go up now because we're in a canyon. So Bozeman you can build out and you can develop, but Missoula's got to go up now. And what they did even here is going to shock you, but I think Stan and Kate know this because Kate's been to Missoula several times. They built refugee apartments that were subsidized apartment developments, and they flooded them with refugees from all over the world, Afghanistan, Iraq. And we're not talking interpreters. I resettled interpreters. We're talking full-on refugees. So in 2008, we went to Governor Brian Schweitzer, who's a Democrat. We said, we'd like to bring 10 Iraq interpreters to Montana. Can you help us? We got a plan and a vision. And he said, I'll help you with 10, but you can't bring a whole bunch of them. Montana's not ready for that. By 5 years later, the Democratic Party had completely reversed, and they were like, flood the state with refugees. And so we have, in my city, 4,700 refugees here, and mostly in subsidized apartments. And so they built those up. And there's been nothing done for the veterans. And the vouchers are worthless. Like I gave you the example of a $1,200 voucher versus a $2,500 couple moving up from California. So it's not that the vouchers aren't there. They're there. I think there was 600 issued in our county for HUD-VASH for homeless or homeless prevention or whatever, and only 14 were used. And the reason is because the landlords and the rental community, the homeowners don't want to lose money.
Now you can
And
take
so,
those vouchers, put them towards the tiny homes. They don't have to pay, because if you're looking at a tiny home that's between
yeah,
300 to 400 square feet, that's everything: a living room, a kitchen, a dining room, a bathroom, a bedroom. That's one level 4 single wide tiny home. That right there, and then you have these guys actually help build them. The sense of pride. Not only are they learning another
it's a
skill set,
fraud. Mm.
the skill set, they know they're actually doing something, and not getting a handout. Because I don't know what it is about veteran, y'all some prideful people, okay? Y'all prideful, okay? But it's not a handout. They're actually helping build a home over their head, and it's just a contract that you get them to sign that you're going to allocate some of that money at the end of their 2 year, 3 year stint, and then you're going to give that money back. That is giving them pride to continue to stay focused on their
Well,
schooling or anything.
I 100% agree with you, Lucretia. Like I said, you're welcome to come and join forces with us in any of our states. We need people that think like you. Um, I would say that we need to get what you're talking about. The housing will have to be a focus of the Trump administration on veterans. I know it's not going to be the biggest focus, but I know President Trump has spoken about it multiple times. He really has, and it's an issue he cares about. And I
I
agree
would
with you
rather
that if
them
we could
take that.
get a build system, build a bear, right? You get a
No,
sense of pride.
if you go, there's an article that came out yesterday. I think it was Fox News. There was $151 million that was taken out of the Army budget for their food and given it
Yes.
to other nations. Did you take? I would say you ain't even you don't need 151 million. Take 2 million. Take 2 million of
Yeah.
their wasteful, fraudulent spending. Get in contact with Doug Collins. Say, yo, Lucretia said do this, and he probably won't. But
You know, Doug,
yes, I do
he's a
know
great guy.
Doug.
Okay,
So
well then you tell him we talked, and I'm all over this. But
we need to.
Doug is a good leader. He's a spiritual man too. So I think the faith community. So let me give you one example that did work well. If you look up Task Force Heroes in Bozeman, Montana, they do retreats. They didn't build the homes they wanted to, but they do the retreats really well for SF, for military. Part of the problem in the vet community, like I run a ship, and our board is a great board for all veterans. And God bless our special forces, but some of the communities in Montana are only for SF, like Big Sky Bravery, Task Force Heroes. And so they're focused on a specific niche. What we've encountered is that primarily SF are not at risk homeless. It's primarily the guys and gals that served in Iraq, Afghanistan, or Vietnam that had bad papers, they had a substance issue, or they had a family dissolve. That's really the three factors. Most of them want to work, and are trying to work. Most of them don't want to live on disability, and most of that pride you're talking about has been broken. And so the ones I'm working with really do want a home. There's about 120 vets we've homed with VOA, and I'd say half of them were on vouchers, and half was getting them into a good job, or getting them reconciled with their family, or something, really life changing. So you're hitting all the notes. We've got a great VA secretary. I'm glad you know Doug Collins. I believe in him. I do think that so much money has been wasted and misspent, and we're going to find out more in the VA and DoD. Lucretia, mark my words, we will. That 151 million is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we had soldiers that were eating lima beans and bread like prisoners. I'm serious. Fort Carson, Fort Hood, I can name several bases where that's documented, and that's not some internet conspiracy. If someone's hearing this is like reported by the Military Times, the Army Times. This is out there, as well known among commanders. And but the housing issue, I think, outside of healthcare, Lucretia, is the number 2 issue now in the vet community. Doug's going to have to take that on. Absolutely. We had 20 years of war, and that's part of the big government spin that we saw was the 20 years of war, and we got to do right by our vets.
Well, I say it like this: with
Strengthen them, like you said.
Veterans of America, with your organization and the Veterans for America First, and the many connections that we collectively have in the political spectrum of this, if we don't hit the ground running within the first month to catch their attention, because I feel like it needs to start rolling, and we know it doesn't take long for a tiny house, then I feel that a jump off point for Doug Collins, the VA, to prove that they are on the right track is to go ahead and give y'all a grant, Veterans for America First a grant, and see if we can actually do this and be the success story, just like Habitat for Humanity, but it's going to be Habitat for our veterans. So I saw that claim just came on. So I want you to have the last word. We get ready to go to the second hour of the show. So you get the last word. Tell everybody how they can find you and how they can help you.
Well, first, let me say thank you to you, Lucretia, and to Stan and Kate and all my friends at Veterans for America First, and all the great work that you guys did. And honestly, getting back to Tim Sheehy, he's a young Navy SEAL. We got them elected in Montana, and you guys were a huge part of that. So I want to tell your audience from my Montana Veterans Foxhole, you guys are a great organization. I'm proud to work with you, and you guys have done incredible things. With Montana Veterans Association, our three biggest things is vet-to-vet buddy checks. We did get a state grant, Lucretia, of $348,000, and then we had a private donor match that with $350,000. So that turned into $700,000 that we spent over 3 years in Montana to build out the largest veterans database in state history and do vet-to-vet buddy checks. We did those weekly with 40 trained navigators. We saved lives. We had successful interventions in saving lives, and we resourced over 1,200 vets in those 2 years. And so we got them housing, or we got them GI Bill, or we got them VA benefits, or we got them a connection in their community, or we got them on a hunt or fishing trip. Second thing we do is we do outdoors. We do it very well. We do golf, hunt, and fish. And so we run the largest warrior hunt team program in the state, 790 veterans. We have the Montana Veterans Golf Classic, which we're going to take to Georgia because Georgia loves their golf. And we work with Warriors of Quiet Waters for fishing. So outside of the vet-to-vet buddy checks, we do the outdoors. And then last but not least is that housing piece. That is our primary focus for the next fiscal year. You can reach us on Facebook, Montana Veterans Association, or Instagram. You can look up our Warrior Team Hunt program. Our website is mtmvafoundation.org. We have 3 entities. We've got a business side, we've got a C3 side, and then we've got MVA, which works to promote policy. We're going to be getting 10 bills through the legislature. We've already gotten 3 passed in Montana. And so just my email is sam@mtmva.org. It's been an honor talking to you today, and thanks for all the great work you do, Lucretia.
Thank you. If you ever need me or Dave or just get in contact with Stan, you got my number, but I've never been to Montana. I'm just going to be honest. I really haven't. No,
I'll wait till the blizzards are over. How's that?
Yeah, wait for the summertime. That's on my bucket list. Believe it or not, Montana is on my bucket list, then South Dakota, and then North Dakota. I really want to see the Black Mountains, Black Mountains. So there's a lot that I want to see. I don't think I ever have to leave outside the United States to explore and love our country.
Well, I tell you what, you look at end of August, beginning of September, that right before that Labor Day weekend, that's when our second annual Montana Golf Tournament statewide is. Maybe we can get you up here as a speaker, get your organization involved, and you see Glacier and hang out with the vets, and we'll talk more housing.
Absolutely.
In the meantime.
Thank you so much, everybody.
We do need to follow up with Doug Collins and Pete Hegseth for your audience. Those are 2 great leaders of men, and I totally agree with Lucretia, and I'm aligned with her that you have to strike in the first 90 days to get their attention.
Oh, we've been striking. So let Trump continue to take that meat cleaver. Let Pete continue to toughen back up our military. Kristi Noem is doing a great job, and Kash Patel is coming.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
So everybody, y'all stay tuned. This is Samuel Pascal Redfern. Y'all get over there and check him out. Go help our veterans, stand up for our veterans, and we'll be right back. Go ahead, Dave.
Real News with Lucretia Hughes is funded by you, the viewers, not US Aid. So to support the show, please donate through PayPal at Fallback Production Studio, Cash App $, Lucretia Hughes 44, Venmo at Lucretia-Hughes, or shop at our store, fallbackusa2.myshopify.com. Thank you so much.
Politicians are very good at playing with words. They always talk about gun control. How about right control? Because when you go against the Second Amendment, that's our right. That's our God-given right, not only by God, but by the founding fathers. So why don't you just call it what it really is, right control? You're taking our rights away. You cannot regulate evil. Evil is evil, and evil is always going to be persistent, and it's always going to be here. So why get rid of our ability to protect ourselves? The Second Amendment right protects the rest of them, and it protects us. It protects your home, your body, and your spirit, because without it, how are you going to protect yourself? Don't be a sheep. Don't follow just because it's popular. Think for yourself. Be yourself. Be that individual that God made you to be. He wasn't born to follow. He was born to lead. Well, welcome back to The Real News with Lucretia Hughes. And Dave, I was just jumping from screen to screen reading y'all comments. Like I said, y'all get over there and donate. If you go over there to our store right now, fallbackusa2.myshopify.com. Every We the People, all We the People, everything of We the People is 15% off. Because I'm going to be rocking these shirts, I know, for a good 30 to 40 days. What's getting ready to hit the pipeline is more, it's worse. It's worse than what we thought, y'all. It is horrible. So We the People told you so. We the people going to be a problem. We the people done had enough, and we